Well, it is now Saturday, July the 3rd, and before I started this, I wanted to show you what's in my little locker here that I don't think I've ever showed you because it usually has shit in front of it. But look at this. All of these classic horror titles. Got some more down here. There's the seniors that ended the whole thing. Oh, no, there is more down here. I do have more down here. I did not know. Some more R.L. Stine down here, but not Fear Street. Zork. And then just a bunch of random crap up here. But anyway, so yes, I grew up. Whoops, Minxie's in my way now. I grew up, well, it was more my teenage years, I guess. The air's on. I've been out doing a Pokemon walk, so I'm sweaty Betty Spaghetti. But, yeah, I grew up on Fear Street. It was part of a very... Do I need this? Is it creepy? Is it creepier if I do this? Part of my, you know... a very solid part of my young adult life, young adult fucked upness, I guess, because I mean these were, you know, at the time there was Goosebumps. R.L. Stine had Goosebumps, which was more for children. I didn't quite, I never read them. I watched some of the TV show. Like, it got its own TV show. Goosebumps got its own TV show. Fear Street has had nothing. Until now. Netflix has decided to make 3 movies, and they're interconnected, I guess. They're telling a story in 3 different time periods, and the first one, part 1, is 1994. They even mentioned B. Dalton. That's so great. I love the way the movie started out. I really do. With that first little interaction between the girl in the bookstore and the mom buying the, you know, the horror schlock crap for her teenager. You know, that was pretty good. So, yeah, B. Dalton, Walden Books. I remember going in there and, you know, every time we go to the mall, that would be, I'd get a new Fear Street book. You know, eventually I had to start buying them from Amazon, because we didn't get up to the, you know, or eBay, buy them from there, because we didn't, was Amazon a thing back then, or was it something, because there was like CD Now, and every time, if you go to CD Now, it links you to Amazon. Like, apparently they bought that, so it's all, I don't know. But yes, you know, there was the Goosebumps books, which were more for children, and then the R.L. Stine, were the Fear Street books were more for young adults, such as myself, in the 90s, in my teenage years, my formative teenage years, where I watched things like Scream and Urban Legend and read things like Fear Street, where teenagers died on a regular basis. So, you know, right now I'm wearing a Donatello shirt, so, I mean, that's not too... It's not too fucked up, right? He was the smartest Ninja Turtle. I don't know. But unfortunately, I was a super fan. I've read almost all of the books. There's one of them that there's one of the books where the girl is blind. I haven't read that one. And there was like 3 newer books that were released a few years ago. It was some like little trilogy of, I say a few years ago. It was more than a few years ago. Trust me, time is just, it's all a blur to me. I work overnights, so like one day blurs into the next, and I don't even know, you know. It was more than a few years ago, because I think I was living over at the house when, but anyway, and I haven't read those. I don't even know if I ended up buying all 3 of them. Because there was a new trilogy a few years ago. So there's a few Fear Street books that I have not read, I'll be honest. So I was a super fan. I tried to read them all, still have not. I like to try, if I can, when I go back, and I need to rebuy some of my books, because some of the books, his R.L. Stine, his name on the book, it was always like raised or whatever, but some of them were like like red foil, and some of them they're just like plain boring, like printed on there. And I was like, I don't want the ones that are plain boring printed on there. I want his name in like shiny red letters. I cannot honestly tell you I'm sure there were probably a lot of Easter eggs in this movie. I would hope so. For fans of the book, it's been a long time. I kind of remember Sarah Fear, kind of when they mentioned her. I remember there was a mansion. There was like the creepy old mansion on the hill. They didn't mention that in this movie, as far as I recall. I don't know how much to say without going into spoilers, but I'll try not to as much as possible. So yeah, I think they even did a trilogy. There were three books that maybe told the story of Sarah Fear. It kind of went back in time and kind of told how the place got cursed. I don't remember Sunnyvale at all. It's kind of the town, like across the whatever it was, the next town over, that is very prosperous, and and of course, Shady Side is like, the crap town where a bunch of shit happens, and that's because the land is all cursed and blah 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 because of what happened in the past and blah 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 blah. So I mean, that's kind of the thing that I liked about it, is some of the stories could be supernatural in like the Fear Street Seniors. He released one book each month for 12 months, for a year, I guess. And it was the Fear Street Seniors. That's kind of what closed out the Fear Street saga. As far as I know, he didn't write any books after that until the ones a few years ago. But that was what, they snuck into the old, I think they snuck into the old Fear Mansion, and they like released a demon and blah 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 blah, and so the demon like cursed the whole senior class, and anyway, so they could be supernatural stories, or there could just be like slasher, serial killer, like kind of things, and this movie kind of intertwined. Maybe I should issue a spoiler warning. I mean, we kind of had both in a way in this movie. And I guess in some way I like that it was rated R, because I guess for at the time they were probably, I'm sure at the time they were probably regarded as like, I don't remember there being controversy over the Fear Street books, but like he was, I mean, teenagers were dying, and yeah, of course, I guess it's the same thing with slasher movies. I mean, maybe, but that's not necessarily directed at like, well, I guess it is, young adults. They're young adult books. Slashers are, I don't know. I don't remember there being controversy over the Fear Street books, but I assume there might have been. I don't know, because it was, he had his goosebumps that kept the kids happy, kept them a little scared, and then you had the more serious books. So I don't know, but I mean, it allowed it to have some violence, have some wordage that might not have passed if it was PG-13 or whatever. It allowed it to have some sexy time. You don't necessarily need the sexy time, but I guess that's okay. Whatever, you can throw it in. Who cares? It looks like it doesn't stop in the next, because there's, like I said, there's 3 movies. The next one's coming out. I believe it's coming out each week. Like this one comes out this week, and then the next one comes out next Friday, and then the third one comes out the Friday after that. I'll get Minx on it. She'll look it up for me to make sure. So I've given you my diatribe about Fear Street without saying much about the movie, and I apologize. But yes, I did enjoy it as a Fear Street fan. I guess I can say that. There was the scary parts, and there was the, I mean, there's a little bit of comedy snuck in there too, a little bit of tongue-in-cheekness, but it kind of felt like a Fear Street book, because you took these teenagers and you put them in this situation, and a lot of times there's some kind of, family drama and, yada, yada, yada kind of things, and, maybe 2 characters in love, perhaps. So it felt like, it felt like a Fear Street book brought to life, kind of, in a way, especially, I mean, in some ways it kind of took a little bit to get started. But I mean, I think the movie's almost 2 hours long, I think. I mean, it opens with slasher movie kind of, dealio, whatever, so I mean, the stage gets set for there to be some weirdness going on, and some weirdness and some badness going on, you know. But then it kind of takes a little bit of time. I mean, I guess it's character development in the middle there, to kind of get back to it. I mean, there's kind of little moments, here and there, I guess that kind of like remind you like, hey, you're watching a horror movie, don't forget, kind of thing, some suspenseful, maybe creepy-ish moments, so, but yeah, the R rating did, help them do some things that they wouldn't have been able to necessarily get away with if if they had the PG-13 rating. So as a fan of the original books, as you've heard me talk about for I don't even know how long that was, it felt right, I guess you can say. It felt like it had the right elements, especially once it got started, to there was some kind of, I mean, I guess in horror movies and in horror genre, sometimes you just have to kind of take that some things happen very conveniently. But, I mean, it wasn't like they were out, looking for trouble. Sometimes the children are looking for trouble and they find it. In this instance, with this one, they were not looking for trouble, but it found them, or they found it, just very conveniently in a sort of way. So sometimes you just have to, willing suspension of disbelief, you just have to kind of like look over that. And I was thinking there was something else I was going to say about it too, but I do not recall what that was. So maybe once the other two come out, I can talk about them a little bit more, and maybe it'll come back to me what I was going to say about it. Because I just don't know. Or maybe I said it and I already forgot because I blod on for so long. I feel like there was something spoilery I was going to mention. But, and I guess that's a spoiler. You find out very early on, because the girl is talking about someone, your main character is talking about somebody she broke up with, and Sam, they use the name Sam because it's very androgynous, and, you think it's one way, and then it turns out to be another way, so, that is kind of, I guess, to be recognized, I guess, because, there has been LGBT characters, in cinema. I remember in Freaky, which is another review I never did. Sorry, Hobbs. He's one of my horror buddies. I'll link him below for you because he does a lot of horror stuff too. But yeah, in Freaky, you had your gay character, and I remember back in the 90s, it was kind of like, that was the joke that the black person died first, so they kind of started having some, black characters be like main characters or survive till the end or whatever. So now, but I don't, and I was trying to recall if there was any horror movies that I could think of where like the LGBT character ended up being like our main character, and it turned out I cannot recall another single movie. I mean, I haven't seen them all, don't get me wrong, but I cannot think of another single horror movie where the main character is, the LGBT character is the focus of the film. The main character, what we're seeing the world through their eyes, and yada, yada, yada. So, I mean, I guess it should be recognized for that, because that was something a little different, for it. I think I remember what I was going to say about the film that was definitely behind a spoiler wall. So, spoiler warnings are in full alert. We. One of the things about, like I said, teenagers die in Fear Street. I mean, it's kind of the bread and butter of it's slasher fiction, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I kind of felt like the kill count was fairly low. Because, sometimes we lose our main characters and, we don't necessarily want to, but that's to further the story, whatever. And because you're watching a horror movie, I guess you want to see people die. And possibly very horrible ways. And I mean, it was kind of like, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it kind of took a little bit to get started, and even when it did start, I mean, it was suspenseful. It was fun. It was but we weren't like losing our characters very fast, if at all, until the last few moments. Um, so I kind of felt like maybe that was kind of like, I don't know. Not that I wanted to lose any of the characters, but it was like, I mean, I don't know. I guess that was kind of one of the things that I could say that it might be missing necessarily is the kill count is fairly low. I mean, we have our big action sequence at the end, and maybe not everyone survives that. Maybe there's a few pieces of bread that don't make it through the night. Pieces of bread, somebody's head, whatever. So I mean that was kind of one of the things is I felt kind of like I don't know. I guess I wanted more carnage, I suppose, in a way. I guess for my carnage I have to wait until the Venom sequel later this year, which means I need to watch the first movie sometime. But anyway, so all in all, as a Fear Street fan, I walked away from the movie. I'm done with spoilers, by the way. If you wanna come back and hear the little recap, we're all good. So as a Fear Street fan, I walked away from it happy. It gave me everything that I guess I felt I needed by the end of it. Like I said, there was kind of that bits in there where it was a little bit slow, but I mean, I guess some of the books could maybe be a little bit slow too, because it's not like people are dying every other page or anything, or they're not being chased every other page or whatever, So it definitely, and that's probably something else that's spoilery, is that in the books, everyone kind of knew there was things going on. People knew that the town was weird. People kind of had that idea, and they do play with that idea in this movie. Of people knowing what's going on. That's not really touched on. I assume maybe in the next two films it might get back to it, because there's a character that like I mean, as spoilers go, I issued the spoiler warning. They go to someone's house. We don't know whose house it is, but they slip a note in the door or something about it's happening again, And so it's like, I mean, people know there's shit going on, and that's just kind of left there for us. Like I said, maybe they'll get back to that in the next two films, but. So if you're a Fear Street fan, I think you will be okay with it. As a horror fan, I think they did a fairly good job of that. Like I said, especially once it got started and got toward the middle to the indie part, maybe, where it's kind of like one of my favorite TV shows ever was Harper's Island, and it's that one that CBS did many years ago where they promised at least one character would die every single episode, and they kept their promise. Sometimes they gave you more than they promised per episode, but there's something that happens just a few episodes in where it's kind of like the characters can no longer deny that was pretty fucked up. Like, what the fuck was that? That was pretty fucked up, So they kind of hit that moment in this movie, and then it kind of goes from there. Whatever. I suppose that's also spoilery in a way ish. I think my favorite of the bad characters or whatever. In some ways, it can almost be comparable to 13 Ghosts, I guess. One of the bad characters, the chick who was singing, like I thought she was really super creepy. I really liked her. Super creepy bitch. I loved her. I think she was my favorite of them. So, anyway, I guess that was just a slight afterthought of whatever. But anyway, so yeah, I think, as a Fear Street fan, you should be happy. And like I said, I mean, there's probably people that remember more than I do because it's been the 90s since I've read these books. So I don't necessarily remember the stories and because, each story, they didn't really over arc. I can't remember any characters. I mean, in the Fear Street Seniors books, yes, you had your senior class, and some characters would be kind of like, if you've ever seen Boogie Pop Phantom, the anime, there'd be like a character that like makes like a guest appearance or kind of makes a cameo in one episode, and then later there'll be an episode that focuses on that character and we'll see that moment from their perspective, kind of thing. So I mean, the Fear Street Seniors, they had characters that were kind of like in and out, and you would like recognize some of them. You'd be like, oh yeah, I remember them, and then like, oh, now they're dead. Like sometimes, occasionally. I like the cool thing that they did was they had like the yearbook at the beginning of each book, and they would negative out, if that makes sense, with the picture, the characters who had died, and they put like deceased over them. And they didn't have the whole class in there from the beginning, which I thought was kind of weird, but they added them later or whatever. So yeah, I mean, there wasn't really much overarching characters, but like I said, people knew the town was weird. Weird things happened in the town. Weird bad things happened in the town all the time. So that was kind of our jumping off point every single book. Like we knew the town. We knew the town was kind of like its own character in a way, I guess you could say. Like every kind of like when we're watching like Tales from the Dark Side or something, or maybe a better way of putting it is Tales from the Crypt Keeper. Like the shady side was our Crypt Keeper. Like we knew as soon as we were coming into their universe, they were going to tell us a story, and a story they did tell. And a story was told in this movie, which, like I said, I enjoyed as a Fear Street fan. I feel. And there may be Easter eggs in there I just didn't see that like I don't think they're telling I don't think they're adapting any specific book. They might, because I know one of them goes back to like 666, the year, the year 666, and they tell the story probably of Sarah Fear in that one. But so I don't think they're adapting any specific book necessarily, or they might be throwing a few in, because there were some moments where they like showed something or whatever, and I kind of felt like I was supposed to know like what they were like, wink wink, nudge nudge. I kind of felt like there might have been a few wink wink nudge nudges in this movie, and like I'm one of those people, I'm always watching the background. There was like a banner for good or something, but the sheriff's name is Good, so I assumed the sheriff. That was just a banner for the sheriff or whatever. So I don't know. There might be a ton of Easter eggs that I missed in this because I just don't remember everything very well. Like I said, I kind of remember there being the mansion on the hill. And I think the story that they told a few years ago was they were tearing down the old Fear mansion to build a strip mall or something. But there again, like I said, I didn't read the books. I bought them. Well, the first two anyway. I don't think I ever bought the third one. But I think that's kind of... So, we always had our little Fear mansion up on the hill, which I don't recall seeing in here. I don't remember them mentioning a mansion. I don't remember them mentioning any of that kind of stuff in there. But especially like the opening credits where they're showing like all these different stories of all this different stuff. But there again, they may be setting up like kind of like their own universe. Like, they don't necessarily care about the book universe so much as kind of like they're creating their own, MCU or Conjuring universe or whatever it is they're doing, so they might be concerned about giving you hints and details of their own story that they're trying to tell. I don't know if R.L. Stine is involved in this at all. I mean, I assume he would have to be, I would think, in some way, shape, or form. But I don't know for sure. But, so maybe I might have to watch some other people's reviews and see if other people caught Easter eggs that I just didn't see or wasn't paying attention enough, didn't remember the story well enough. But anyway, like I said, as a Fear Street fan, I'm happy. As a horror movie fan, I think even if you've never encountered Fear Street before, I feel like you'll be happy. If you just like movies in general, I guess it's got a good ebb and flow to it. Like I said, there's time for character development and all this other stuff, and then there's some action and there's some minimal carnage, I guess, but there's some of that too. So I mean, it ticks a lot of boxes, I suppose, for the movies fans. So anyway, I am eagerly going to await the next one and see what happens next. But other than that, that's my long diatribe about Fear Street in general and the movie. Hopefully, I talked about the movie somewhat in there somewhere. I don't know. But anyway, so I didn't even know they were making this until recently, and I was like, holy shit, because somebody posted the trailer on Facebook. And I was like, they're making a Fear Street? Not just one, but they're making 3? So, very happy. Very happy. My inner fucked up young adult is very joyous at the moment. So, anyway, that's all I feel like I should say, I guess, since I've said plenty. And, my uncle's party, 4th of July party is tonight, and I'll be going down there to film the fireworks, as I usually do. So, eventually that video will be up, eventually. Yeah, we know how I do. But anyway, I don't know if I'll review all 3 movies, or, maybe, I guess. I'll find, maybe, I don't know. So, I might do another one of these next week, and the week after that. I guess we'll see. But anyway, I will see you for what I see.